Welcome back to the channel. My name is Justin, and this is the Deconstruction Zone. I wanted to talk briefly today about my experience leaving the faith, what it was like mentally and emotionally to leave the faith, being that I was in it ever since I could imagine, ever since I was a young person. And also some of the responses I got from people that were still in the faith and people that were either insecure or hostile towards me leaving the faith. The most common refrain from Christians when someone leaves the faith is something akin to, well, they were never saved in the first place, or they just wanted to commit sins. They wanted to live a lifestyle that was incongruent with their belief system. Or they'll say something like, oh, they just wanted to be their own God and live their own life. And I'm sure if you've left the faith already, or even talked to somebody about leaving the faith, you've heard these types of refrains before. So I'm going to address a few of those later on in the video. In particular about leaving the faith, though. When I left the faith, it was completely against my will. And so there's a narrative that Christians say while they're inside the church about people that have left the church, and it is in complete ignorance. The idea is basically that people leave the church and leave the faith willingly because they have some sort of an inner desire or something defective within themselves. And so by leaving the church, they're able to do whatever it is they weren't able to do while they were still in the church. This, of course, is nonsense. I, for the most part, enjoyed being a Christian. I can't remember a single time where I thought, boy, this is kind of an inconvenient lifestyle for me. For me, it was a joy. And of course, it answered many of the existential questions that I had as a young person and even as an adult. There's a lot of things that you don't have to question when you're a Christian because the Bible provides you with answers to those questions. You don't really have to spend a lot of time thinking about what happens after you die or where your soul was before you were born, or if your soul existed before you were born, or any of the deep philosophical questions that non-Christians tend to spend a lot of time considering. My journey away from the faith was wholly based on information that I received through my studies and through, of course, reading the Bible. And so for me, I was drug away very slowly over the course of about 10 years, as Bart Ehrman would say, kicking and screaming. I did just about everything a person could do to stay in the faith. I deconstructed my faith over the course of, like I said, 10 years. I went to Bible college and seminary, all the while looking for reasons to tell my brain that no, these problems that you perceive in the faith and in the text can be harmonized. These problems can be fixed. We can find solutions to these. And of course, in the end, obviously, I did not find those solutions. Now, I'm aware that there are many apologists out there that are probably shouting at the screen saying, oh, you just didn't find the right apologist. And while that might be true for some people, I can assure you that somebody who spent upwards of $60,000 on higher education, both in undergraduate and graduate degrees, I, of course, did not leave any stones unturned. If there was an answer to be had, I found it. It just happened to be that some of those answers I found to be very, very unconvincing. Now, that being said, the process of leaving for me was really painful. I had to take apart everything I thought I knew and basically put it in the bin, throw it in the trash, and rethink what it was life was all about. And I had to rethink my entire life. What is my purpose? What are my goals? What should I spend my time doing? What brings meaning to me? Is there a higher purpose to life? If Christianity is not true, is there something out there that is true? Or perhaps there's a God, even if Christianity does not represent that particular God. These are questions I wrestled with for many years before I eventually came to the conclusion that I don't believe that there is any God, and I certainly don't believe in the biblical God. The Bible itself has many, many problems. I've done a video on those problems and will continue to do more. I will not be covering any of those problems in this particular video. I merely wish to point out that during my time as a Christian, I was completely sold out. I realize that there are some watching this video that would like to say, well, obviously you were never a Christian in the first place, or you were a Christian, but you didn't have the Holy Spirit. Or you were a Christian, but you only had head knowledge, but not heart knowledge. Or you were a Christian, but you were doing it for the wrong reasons. Or you were a Christian, but you didn't actually have a relationship with Jesus Christ. And to these accusations, I would say you are speaking in complete ignorance, and you're assuming that you know a person that you do not know. In fact, many staunch atheists today are so aggressive in their atheism simply because when they were Christians, they were the most sincere, the most dedicated, and the most sold out Christians you've ever met. We were the people leading worship. We were the people that were going to multiple Bible studies and multiple churches throughout the week. We were the people that were dedicating our lives to purchasing commentaries, building libraries, and even going to Bible college and to seminary. We were on mission trips. We gave our own time and money for the cause. We spent many, many hours seeking guidance from pastors, counselors, and people who we thought were more knowledgeable and more wise than ourselves. But in the end, when somebody is that committed and sold out to the vision of Christianity, when they do become atheists, they are definitely going to become extreme atheists. They're going to swing from one extreme to the other. And I think this was somewhat similar to my experience. I was so very much sold out as a Christian that when I finally woke up from the dream and realized that none of it was real, I was upset. I'd given a large portion of my life over to the vision. I had sacrificed career, I had sacrificed relationships, I sacrificed friendships, I sacrificed all kinds of monetary gain for the mission. So, of course, as an atheist, I put the same amount of effort and vigor into my message, especially because I know it's possible that I could prevent somebody from going through the same pain that I went through. Now, about accusations like you were never a Christian to begin with, or you had head knowledge but not heart knowledge, or you had education but not a relationship, or you had so much education that it got in the way of your relationship. And to these accusations, I would say, if you feel the need to degrade people simply because they left the faith or make excuses why they left the faith other than the reasons that they actually gave you, I would suggest that you're speaking from a place of insecurity and not a place of sincerity. If you sincerely cared about the person who left the faith, you would not be finding reasons to write them off as a person. You would not be trying to find reasons to degrade them or to degrade their experience. And you certainly wouldn't be calling them a liar directly to their face and invalidating their entire experience as a Christian. Somebody who is secure in their faith can talk to somebody who has left the faith without having to feel the need to degrade them. And of course, this is why Christians that are still in the faith do degrade atheists, because they're insecure about their own faith. Of course, this is also why Christians get so excited when rich and famous people join the faith, because they feel like in some way this validates their own belief, because they're so insecure in their own belief, they need others to validate it. This, of course, is not true for most of the people who have deconstructed and left the faith. They generally do not care who believes and who doesn't. It is a matter of intellectual honesty. Once you stop believing in the thing that you used to believe, the only natural step to take is to leave the faith. And that's exactly what I did. And of course, I know many people who did the very same thing even before I did. In fact, when I was in Bible college, there was even a unwritten protocol for dealing with people who fell away from the faith during the process of the educational experience, because as it turns out, if you have a fundamentalist view of the Bible, such as inerrancy, and you go into higher education, you're most likely going to learn that an inerrant viewpoint is anything but factual. In fact, the Bible contains many errors, both scientific, both contradictions, and in failed prophecies, and the list goes on and on. I will continue to make videos on these very topics, so I will not address it in this particular video. Some of those videos have already been posted. And so if you know somebody who has left the faith, ask yourself, why is there always a rush to degrade the person leaving the faith? Why is there always such a rush for people to come in and say, oh, well, they didn't have the Holy Spirit, or, oh, they just weren't in it for the right reasons? Why such a rush to these types of negative attacks? I hope that you'll approach that person with sincerity, listen to what they're telling you, and believe the words that are actually coming out of their mouth, rather than accusing them of just having poor motives or not being a real Christian in the first place. Because when you engage in these types of tactics, all you really do is chase people further away from the church. You shut down lines of communication, and you message to people that there is no room for conversation.